Imagine each and every day, instead of throwing away your garbage for the local sanitation team to recycle and dispose of,
I'm the trash man.
you had to get rid of it. Not so convenient, but doable, right? And thinking nothing of it, you pick the path of least resistance and just toss it in your backyard or local woodland. But, unbeknownst to you, this pile begins to degrade, and its sludgy runoff slowly seeps into the ground, eventually making its way to the well water you drink each day. Oh boy, wait a sec. You mean to tell me that because that waste was not properly disposed of, it ended up contaminating its maker? Yikes. If only recycled.
And then I start eating garbage.
And with that little primer, let's talk about how that exact scenario can play out inside our pretty cool meat suit, and how it may very well be one of the underlying drivers of aging.
What the hell did you just say?
Yo, yo, yo! What is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftandbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic manner. Now, before we get going, I just want to make a little YouTube PSA to the longevity fam. If you are interested in joining weekly challenges, where we as a group slowly and sustainably introduce healthy change into our lives. We're kicking off week 1 in the Patreon, link in the description below. As for today, we are talking about one of the best longevity tools that we humans possess. A biological mechanism that helps us clear the waste from the cellular streets, keeping us running as efficiently as possible, as long as possible. This mechanism is called autophagy. And in the next 14 minutes and 53 seconds, we'll be breaking down what it is, why it's so important, how to ramp it up, and my daily autophagy routine to help me maximize my cellular cleanup. If only my production team would remember to take out this studio trash one of these days. So without further ado, let's dive in. What is autophagy? Well, in layman's terms, it is our in-house cellular recycling system. This process activates during times of cellular stress or damage, bringing on in the cellular sanitation team to break down the components of the compromised cell, and then recycle and repurpose the parts for other cellular building endeavors, while preparing the rest to be disposed through one of our many exfiltration systems. Think stool, sweat, urine, breath, earwax. No, not earwax. And in an ideal world, applied over time, this leaves us with only the fittest, healthiest, insult-free cells and reduces our risk of disease onset. And I say in a perfect world because autophagy has also been observed being a survival mechanism for existing cancers.
What did you say?
In animal models, but nonetheless just showing how complex our biology really is. Things are neither good or bad. It's all about context. And for the most part, in most contexts, autophagy seems to be a pretty good thing. In fact, this process is happening all the time within our body. Without it, in animal models where researchers inhibited autophagy, the animals didn't make it too long. And thus, there's a good shot we probably wouldn't make it too long. The real question is, how prevalent is it at any given time? And that gets into the reasons why autophagy is important. Why it's important. When received in the right amount, autophagy can strengthen immunity, eliminate pathogens, remove zombie cells, aka senescent cells, which we talk about here, protect against neurodegeneration and inflammatory diseases. Pretty good list if you ask me. This right here is why it's been identified as a key potential pathway for longevity, or extending those healthy years as far out as humanly possible. The topic we focus on a lot on this channel, because I selfishly need production team operating on all cylinders till the very, very end. Now, a large body of evidence suggests that autophagy declines as we age, compromising organ function due to the accumulation of misfolded proteins and dysfunctional organelles. I know, not a good look, but interestingly enough, autophagy happens to be a process that we can modulate to an extent with lifestyle habits and interventions. Let's explore. What tickles autophagy? When it comes down to upregulation, there happen to be quite a few proven ways to increase the characteristics and components of autophagy throughout the body. And many of these mechanisms activate in response to a physiological stressor, or what I like to call good stress. And our body responds this way for a reason. The activation of autophagy in response to a stress helps preserve cellular energy, reduce oxidative stress, attenuate misfolded protein accumulation, and guarantees mitochondrial turnover, thus the survival of the cell, which is kind of important for us organisms. Let's go through a few interventions that flip this switch. First, energy restriction and fasting. Studies on time-restricted eating in humans have shown that eating in a 8-hour or less daily window can upregulate the expression of autophagy genes, sirtuins, and provide better insulin sensitivity when compared to eating over a 12-hour span. But if you really want to amp up autophagy, prolonged fasts seem to be a much more potent stimulator, with studies in mice showing that fasting for 48 hours compared to 24 hours produced more autophagiosomes, which are the cellular vessels that spearhead the cleanup. And although we don't have clear data, the sweet spot in humans is thought to be somewhere between 36 hours and 96 hours to really start ramping up autophagy, because we're a little bigger than mice. Now, before we move on, calorie restriction or chronically eating less has also shown to upregulate autophagy, pretty much because of its consistent energy deficit. But as you probably know, that ain't no fun. Next, we have an autophagy stimulator that is shown to be potentially more potent than fasting, and that's exercise. Research has shown that exercise performed in a fasted state increases the expression of a protein called LC3B2, a marker for autophagiosomes. You know, those aforementioned vessels, which suggest that fasted exercise indeed does have a more autophagic response compared to non-fasted. Adding that, just 30 minutes of cardio has shown to induce autophagiosome formation, which indicates the initiation of autophagy. And as you could have guessed, resistance training has shown to induce autophagy as well. What about what we eat or don't eat? Carbohydrate restriction, or eating low carbohydrates, has been shown to increase autophagy by inducing a state of ketosis, and even promote brain macroautophagy by activating the SIRT1 pathway. Then we have dietary phytonutrients, which are plant-derived polyphenols and compounds like resveratrol, keratin, dark pigments, flavonoids, and others, showing promise in upregulating the pathways that stimulate autophagy. Some fan favorites may be coffee and tea. You coffee lovers will be pleased to hear that it may activate autophagy via its caffeine and polyphenols, while EGCG, the main polyphenol in green tea, has also been linked to autophagy. Lastly, we can't forget magic mushrooms. Okay, not magic mushrooms, but medicinal mushrooms have shown promise as well. Reishi, chaga, lion's mane, and cordyceps have been shown to lower inflammation and activate autophagy. Pretty cool, right? Just don't be foraging any mushrooms in your backyard, okay? You can ask the production team what happens when you do that. Speaking of production team, guys, it's getting a little hot in here. Oh, that's because it's the section to talk about, got it, heat stress. As we break down here, the heat shock response from planned exposure has shown the potential to induce autophagy in animal models. And as we know, heat shock proteins also repair damaged misfolded proteins, similar to some of the functions of autophagy. But what about the other end of the spectrum? Cold exposure. Well, as we talk about here, mild cold exposure can induce autophagy as well, as cold shock proteins followed by heat have been shown to increase key proteins, LC3, and cellular machinery for autophagy. And lastly, we have everyone's favorite thing, sleep. Good quality sleep has shown to be critical in getting the benefits of autophagy. Why? Because melatonin, the master sleep hormone, plays a key role in modulating autophagy. Not only does it make us doze off into dreamland, but it is a powerful antioxidant that governs many cellular repair mechanisms. So strong circadian alignment with tuned melatonin and cortisol cycles may be one of the best things you can do for taking out the cellular trash. With all that, we know what it is, we know why it's important, we know what stimulates it. Let's talk about my current autophagy protocol and how I apply it to my everyday life. My daily autophagy routine. Now, important disclaimer, do not feel that you need to do all of this. This routine is focused around promoting longevity in general, and it just so happens that autophagy stimulation fits into it pretty nicely. I'm not saying it's the best, I'm not saying it's the worst, it's just what I do. This routine is also highly customized for me and my lifestyle variables. Remember, the best routine is always the one that fits into your life and the one that you can continuously sustain. With that, we're gonna start in the middle of the day with the opening of my daily feeding window. First, I break my daily 21-ish hour fast with nutrient-dense, phytochemical-rich foods, including many fiber-rich, colorful veggies, legumes, and healthy fats. And I eat over what I like to call a 3-hour grazing window between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. After my meal, I take a 20-minute light walk outside to balance glucose. Any movement can work, but adding nature will definitely boost the internal vibe. Then, after a few hours of work at around 5 p.m., I hop in the sauna for about 30 minutes to stimulate the heat shock response, followed by an often cold shower and rewarming using an infrared negative ion biomat. Then, a few hours later when it's time for sleep, my organs are pretty much done with the high energy demand of digestion. Melatonin is flowing due to my consistent sleep hygiene routine, and my body can hyper focus on what it's supposed to be focusing on during sleep: rest, detoxification, rejuvenation, and recovery. And it's with this focused early eating routine that I attribute my almost 3 hours of deep sleep per night, which is about double what the average human gets. And we talk all about it right here. And after a solid 8 hours of Z's, my morning is filled with water, yoga, and a 40-minute intense exercise, all fasted. What I would hope is kicking fasting and exercise-induced autophagy into overdrive. And after a little meditation and precisely 3 hours after getting up, I enjoy a cup or two of coffee and/or green tea. Actually, as of late, I've been messing around with a coffee alternative called mud water, which happens to be comprised of a whole bunch of medicinal mushrooms, and a lot of the ones we discussed before. And at that point, we've reached another 21-ish hours of daily fasting, and it's time to break the fast. And that's it. Definitely not perfect, and almost impossible to measure the actual autophagy stimulating impact. But I gotta say, 99% of my days, I wake up with my pretty cool meat suit and 5-pound mushy membrane feeling energized, refreshed, restored, and rejuvenated. So I'll take it. And as always, continue to try new things, adapt, and re-experiment. And hopefully this gave you some ideas of how you could fit autophagy-inducing activities into your daily routine. Let me know what your favorite autophagy-stimulating habits are in the comments below, and how you fit them into your daily routine. Now, before I forget, I'm gonna go recycle all that trash that production team has so nicely stacked in that corner. Oh, you put a sign on it. Beware of smell. Nice.